Everyone thinks getting a deal on Shark Tank is a win, but some of the worst business decisions in Indian startup history were made the moment founders said yes. Today we are breaking down the deals that look like wins on camera and quietly destroyed equality, control and long-term value. Setup. Before we dive in, if you think funding equals success, this video will change how you see startup deals forever. A bad deal doesn't kill your company overnight, that's what makes it dangerous. It shows up slowly in broad meetings where you're outvoted in fundraising rounds, where your cap tables is a mess, in exits where the founders walk away with almost nothing. We are not here for drama, we are here to understand why smart founders made expensive mistakes and what you can actually learn from it. Here's what people forget about Shark Tank India. You're not in a boardroom, you're in a TV set, cameras rolling, sharks staring and clocks ticking. And the psychological pressure in that room is engineered, whether intentional or not, to make your moves fast. Founders walk in having spent months building their business. They have rehearsed their pitches, but the moment a shark makes a counter offer, they have seconds to decide. And that moment, three things goes wrong. One, they anchored on validation, not valuation. Aman Gupta said, yes, feels bigger than I just gave away 20% of my company. 2. They negotiate from fear. Fear of losing the deal, fear of going home empty-handed or national TV. 3. They confuse a good investor with a good deal. The shark might be brilliant, but if the terms don't work for your business, it doesn't matter. Keep all three of these in mind as we go through the cases. 4. Breakdown. Case 1. Wakao Foods, India's jackfruit meat alternative brand. Their ask was Rs 75 lakh for 5%. Implied valuation Rs 15 crore. Deal they accepted Rs 75 lakh for 21%. Implied valuation Rs 3.57 crore. That's not a negotiation, that's a 76% valuation haircut in one conversation. Some amount of money, same business, same founders, but now the shark sold 4x more of the company than the founders originally planned to give up. What went wrong? Wakao was a genuinely interesting product, plant-based meat in a market that was just starting to open in India. But they came in at a valuation that the sharks didn't believe yet, and they had no leverage to defeat it. No competing offers, no strong revenue numbers to anchor, no walkaway position. So when the sharks pushed, they folded fast. The real cost. Let's say Wakao existed at Rs 50 crore someday. At 5% dilution, founders retain most of that upside. At 21%, they are permanently transferred Rs 8 crore worth of that future value from the very first check they took. Inside, short-term validation is not worth long-term dilution. Defend your valuation or don't take the deal. Case 2. Revamp Moto electronic vehicle startup. Their ask Rs 1 crore for 1%, implied valuation Rs 100 crore. Deal they accepted Rs 1 crore for 10%, implied valuation Rs 10 crore. A 10x valuation collapse. Same check, 1/10 the company value. What went wrong? Revamp Moto walk in with a Rs 100 crore valuation on a pre-revenue EV startup. In a room full of people who understand business math, they numbered without the transition to back it up. Is an immediate credibility problem. The moment the sharks challenged it and the founders couldn't defeat it with hard numbers, the power shifted entirely. From that point, the sharks controlled the narrative and the founders were just trying to save the deal. The math they didn't do. At 1%, every 1% of the future equity is worth Rs 1 crore to them. At 10%, they had already priced that future at Rs 10 lakh per percent. The compounding effect of that gap is enormous in any future funding round because new investors will look at this gap table and ask questions. Inside, an unrealistic opening ask doesn't make you look ambitious, it makes you look unprepared, and unprepared founders get repriced. Case 3. Jain Shikanji, traditional lemon drink brand from Delhi. Their ask was Rs 40 lakh for 8%. Implied valuation was Rs 5 crore and deal they accepted Rs 40 lakh for 30%. Implied valuation was Rs 1.33 crore, a 73% valuation drop. And what's striking here is that the ask wasn't even aggressive. Rs 5 crore for a heritage beverage brand with real customers is not unreasonable. What went wrong? The founders came in emotionally leading with their family legacy, their story, their decades of tradition. All of that is powerful. But emotion without a scaling strategy is a red flag for investors. The sharks asked, how do you go from a Delhi street stall to a national brand? And the founders didn't have a sharp answer. No unit economy, no distribution plan, no answer to the manufacturing bottleneck question. So the sharks reframed the valuation entirely, not based on what the brand was, but on how risky the path forward looked. Insight, your story gets people interested, your numbers get people to believe. If you only have one of those, you lose the negotiation. Case 4, Nuutjob meant intimate hygiene brand. Their ask was rupees 25 lakh for 2.5%. Implied valuation was rupees 10 crore. Deal they accepted was rupees 25 lakhs for 20%. Implied valuation was rupees 1.25 crore. And 8x increase in dilution for the exact same check. What went wrong? Nuutjob was operating in a genuinely interesting white space. Men's grooming is a growing category and intimate hygiene was almost untouched in India. The idea wasn't the problem. The problem was market credibility. The sharks weren't sure India was ready to pay rupees X for this product category at sale. And if the TAM is uncertain, the valuation is uncertain. If the valuation is uncertain, equity becomes a shock absorber. The founders also had weak traction at the time of filming, which means no leverage. And without leverage, you're not negotiating. You're just hoping. Insights, in a niche market, you need to either prove demand with numbers or price the uncertainty into your ask from the start. Here's the thing that ties all 4 of these together. None of these founders had a bad business. Wakao is a real product in a real growing category. Revamp Moto is one of the hottest sectors in the country. Jain Shikanji has decades of brand equity. Nuutjob is solving a real problem. They didn't lose because their business was wrong. They lost the negotiation because they walked into a room where the other side was better, preferred for their specific conversation. And that's the part no one talks about. Deep inside, so if you strip away the drama, the cameras and the TV format, what actually causes bad deals? It comes down to 3 structural problems. Problem 1, pressure collapse time horizon. In a normal functioning conversation, you have days to think. On Shark Tank, you have minutes. And when time compresses, founders stop thinking about year 5 and start thinking about right now. If I walk away, I go home empty-handed, my family is watching, this might be my only shot. That mental shift from long-term to short-term is exactly what causes a founder to accept 21% when they came in at 25%. Problem 2, validation bias is expensive. There's a reason Shark Tank works on a TV show. That sharks are credible and successful people. When they say, I believe in your business, it feels like proof. But here's the distinction. Most founders, a shark endorsing your idea is not the same as a shark giving your fair terms. They can think your product is great and still negotiate harder on valuation. Those 2 things are not in conflict for them. For a founder who has been building for years and finally hears a successful investor say yes emotionally, those 2 things feel like the same thing. That's the trap. Problem 3, no leverage means no deal, only terms. The best deal is startup history on Shark Tank, and of it are made by founders who were willing to walk away, not because they were arrogant, because they had alternatives. Other investors at the table, strong revenue to anchor on, a clear walkaway point, they decide before entering the room. When you have none of these things, you're not negotiating, you're just agreeing to whatever preserves the deal. And sharks, who are professional negotiators, can sense the intensity. The moment they know you need this deal, the valuation becomes a variable and it will move in their direction. The real lesson. Funding is not the goal, terms are the goal. Getting rupees 75 lakh for 5% is a completely different outcome than rupees 75 lakh for 21%. Even though the check looks identical. Takeaway, so next time you watch Shark Tank India, change the question you're asking. Don't ask, did they get the deal? Ask, at what cost? Because equity given away in round 1 compounds forward into every future round. A 21% dilution in Series A means less room in Series B. Less room in Series B means a tighter exit. A tighter exit means founders who build something real walk away with far less than they should. And none of that shows up on the episode. The 3 things to take away. 1. Know your walkaway number before you walk in. 2. Your valuation is only as strong as the data backing it. 3. Getting a deal and getting a good deal are not the same thing. Ending, because in business, the wrong deal doesn't feel immediately, it shows up years later in lost ownership, lost control and lost updates. And most people don't lose because they lacked opportunity, they lost because they couldn't evaluate it clearly. What looks like a yes today can become the most expensive decision of your life. The sharks understand the risk, valuation and leverage instinctively. Most founders don't, and that gap is exactly what caused them. That's what Zedvisor is built for, not just better information, better thinking, because in the end, it's not the deal you get, it's the judgment behind it. And that's the difference most people never understand.